Good morning. Once again, join us in the class of Sir Mark. As mentioned in the Curriculum Instructional Guide for Practical Research 2, our topic for today is about the review of related literature. I am now excited to learn how to write my review of related literature.
Do you have an idea how to write the research review of related literature?
Yes, I can still remember a little. I have learned it in our Practical Research 1 last semester. However, I have forgotten already the guidelines on how to write the research review of related literature or RRL.
Exactly. Today we will be discussing with Sir Mark how to write the research review of related literature.
Hello! Welcome to our new topic, Writing Chapter 2, Learning from Others and Reviewing the Literature. Most essential learning competencies. The learner lists research hypotheses, if appropriate, defines terms used in the study, illustrates and explains conceptual framework, and presents written review of related literature and conceptual framework. Let's have now the learning objectives. After this discussion, you are expected to have the ability to first select and synthesize information from relevant literature. Next, cite related literature using standard style. Third, write coherent review of literature. Fourth, follow ethical standards in writing. Fifth, illustrate and explain conceptual framework. Sixth, define terms used in the study. 7. List research hypotheses if appropriate and present written review of related literature and conceptual framework. Activities that you're going to have are the following: Performance Task 3.1, Performance Task 3.2, and 3.3 in the Moodle Classroom. The following topics are included. We have the research hypothesis, the related literature, the conceptual framework, and definition of terms. Research hypothesis. A hypothesis is a prediction of the possible outcomes of a study. Hypotheses are statements in quantitative research in which the investigator makes a prediction or a conjecture about the outcome of a relationship among attributes or characteristics. For example, we have the research question: is there a significant relationship between the grade 11 student respondents' availability of internet connection at home and their average sleeping time? That's the question. Now, the null hypothesis would be there is no significant relationship between the grade 11 student respondents' availability of internet connection at home and their average sleeping time. What you can notice here is the phrase "is there a" was only changed to a phrase "there is no," and then the same statement, and of course the question mark is changed into a period, and that's how we come up with the null hypothesis based from a research question.
Okay, so let's have more examples. This statement of the problem, we have the research questions, but we have to focus only on number 3. It requires a hypothesis. Okay, is there a significant relationship between the level of social media usage and the attention span in a class of grade 11 students of Congressional Integrated High School? So that's the question. Now, the research hypothesis would be there is no significant relationship between the level of social media usage and the attention span in class of grade 11 students in Congressional Integrated High School.
Now, let's see if you already can formulate the null hypothesis based from the given research question. Directions: formulate and write the null hypothesis based from each given research question. Please type your answers in the chat box. The first who can give the correct answer will be given a price of cell phone load for data which you may use in browsing sources for your review of related literature. Is that clear? Get ready and we are about to start.
Let's now proceed to the review of related literature. This is a written summary of journal articles, books, and other documents that describes the past and current state of information on the topic of your research study. The following are the purposes of the review of related literature. First, to justify your choice of research question, theoretical or conceptual framework, and method. Second, to establish the importance of the topic. Third, to provide background information needed to understand the study. Fourth, to prove researchers' familiarity with significant and/or up-to-date research relevant to the topic. And fifth, to establish your study as one link in a chain of research that is developing knowledge in your field. Rolling out your review of related literature. How to write the review of related literature. This time we will follow a step-by-step procedure on HW to write the review of related literature. First, identify key terms. This is based from the title, where we try to list down key terms as basis for the themes to be developed in the review of related literature. After writing down the themes, we have now to locate literature. It might be from books, journals, studies, news, magazines, and others. Next, we have to critically evaluate and select the literature. See to it that it came from a reliable good source. Arrange and organize the literature in such a way that the discussion flows smoothly, giving a complete picture of the importance of the topic. Provide background information. Establish your study as one link in a chain of research to justify your choice of research question, theoretical or conceptual framework, and method. The mentioned flow must link to the conduct of your study and what it can contribute in the field of knowledge. Finally, you are ready to write the review of related literature. Let us now proceed in writing the review of related literature. Here are the things we need to remember. First, use the statement of problem as guide to structure and sequence of topics. Second, avoid copy/cut and paste. All literature cited must form a coherent whole. Rephrase the statements before including in the review of related literature. The last paragraph in the flow of discussion in the review of related literature highlights gaps in literature specifically addressed by your study. You also need to use appropriate format for citations and references. In our case, we will be using the APA format. Take note the in-text citations should be congruent to bibliography or references entries. Moving on to the next part, we need to respect the works of others as we also want others to respect our works. We have the guidelines in the APA in-text citation. If you use the name of the authors in your writing, place the year of publication of the work in parentheses after the authoress name. For example, Mullane, 2017, conducted research into the effect of. If you refer to a work in the text of your paper, place the author's last name and the year of publication of the work in parentheses at the end of the sentence. For example, the research conclusively proved a correlation between the results, Mullane, 2017. How about the APA referencing style? Below are the format when writing the references. For books, the title is in a sentence format and italicized. Andreasen, N.C., 2015. Brave New Brain, Conquering Mental Illness in the Era of the Genome. Oxford, England, Oxford University Press. For journals we have the example format. Patenti, S., Anderson, C., and Kareen, M., 2018. Environmental Sun Protection and Supportive Policies and Practices, an audit of outdoor recreational settings in NSW coastal towns. Health Promotion Journal of Australia, 22, 97, 101. And of course, for website the format is given below. Sitaker, B., 2020, July 15th. Water aerobics. Retrieved from http://www.buzzle.com. You need to remember all of these so you will be able to follow the proper citations and writing the references. We will also have a separate discussion for this using the Microsoft Word referencing tool next meeting. Let us now proceed in locating literature. Here are some guidelines we also need to follow. For books, at most 5 years old from the year of publication with the exception of well-cited references on educational theories, principles, methods, etc. For journals, at most 5 years old from the year of publication and must come from a legitimate source. For online resources, retrieved from reliable sources such as Elsevier, journals.elsevier.com, Wiley, onlinelibrary.wiley.com, Taylor and Francis, tandfonline.com, Google Scholar, scholar.google.com, and the like. Moving on to the next, we have the conceptual framework. Conceptual framework is a basic structure or frame of reference which is designed to support or enclose something. It is a skeletal figure or presentation, or a diagrammatic presentation of the study, and is also called as the research paradigm. Proceeding to the proper discussion of conceptual framework. This is a diagram that connects variables of the study with lines, correlations, or arrows, cause-effect relationships. In constructing the conceptual framework, start with text and clearly cite the diagram. Ensure congruence with research questions. Follow the rule of thumb. Number of Level 2 research questions is at least equal to the number of lines/arrows in conceptual framework. Include in the diagram the variables which may have values or subvariables. Use the diagram to explain research framework. And justify each variable and subvariable, and each line or arrow using logic and synthesized studies. So, it must be in relation to what is discussed in the review of related literature. This time, we will have to explain using an example. Going back to the title we have previously, let us proceed. SHS students' social media usage and their attention span in class. Conceptual framework. Figure 1 below illustrates the conceptual framework of the research. The paradigm presents the variables that will be considered in the research. First, we have the box with the independent variable and subvariables, followed by the box for the dependent variable, after which these two variables are connected with arrow. Next, indicate the figure number and title below. Let's say Fig 1, the conceptual framework of the study, followed by the discussion of the conceptual framework. Remember, the level of SHS students' social media usage will be described in the research in terms of 3 subvariables: A. Forms of social media, B. Frequency of social media use, and C. Mode of social media use. In the research, this variable is seen to possess a hypothesized relationship with SHS students' attention span in class. This hypothesized relationship is represented by the two-headed arrow connecting both variables. We are almost done. And for the last but not the least part, we have the definition of terms. The variables and subvariables or values in conceptual framework are defined, except very common variables like grade level, gender, school type, where the values are indicated in the framework itself. The definition of terms are of 2 types. We have the conceptual definition and the operational definition. In the conceptual definition, the term is defined using general concepts from different sources such as books, journals, and studies. While the operational definition, the term is defined the way it is used in the study format. The following terms are defined conceptually and operationally as used in the study, followed by list of terms with conceptual and operational definitions, if appropriate. Let us have an example. Definition of terms. The following terms are defined conceptually and operationally as used in the study. Social media are internet-based channels that allow users to opportunistically interact and selectively self-present, either in real time or asynchronously, with both broad and narrow audiences who derive value from user-generated content and the perception of interaction with others. In this study, the term social media refers to the use of social networking sites and exclude the use of the internet by the respondents for educational purposes. Attention span is the amount of concentrated time, so on and so forth.
So, we are done with the discussions. If you have questions or clarifications, you may ask Sir Mark. If everything is already clear and understood, I would like to evaluate how much you have learned by answering an assessment through Google Forms. The link will be shared in our group chat. Thank you and see you again next time. God bless you all. Bye bye.